Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Shelly's Millions. I know by now most of you have heard of the EDD dialing service Claimyr, but a lot of you are wondering, are they contributing to the problem of it being so hard to get through to the EDD? Is Claimyr clogging up those phone lines even more so that we can't get through? Is Claimyr safe to use? Is Claimyr legit? So I thought I would have the CEO of Claimyr on the channel and do an interview with him to try and address some of those concerns. So here's the interview via Zoom with Thomas Maxon, CEO of Claimyr. Hi, Thomas.
Hey, Shelly.
Do you mind if we just jump right into it? I know you're really busy because your service has picked up a lot recently.
Yeah, let's jump in. I look like way overexposed here, but
it's okay. I think it's going to be okay. So how are you?
Good. It's been a wild ride since things started taking off, and we had to hire a bunch of people and train them and do that and expand to new states, and it's been pretty crazy. Yeah.
Those are good problems to have though, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not complaining for sure.
I read an article that said that you started Claimyr because you were unemployed yourself and were frustrated getting through to the EDD. Is that true?
Yeah, it was pretty insane because I was struggling and I had to do something. But at the same time, I was starting a couple, startups, and I was trying to, find something that I wanted to build. And it was a completely different industry. This was really, really exciting when I was able to, do some magic even with my own claim. So yeah, I started it. I think I maybe called like 500 times in a week, and it was really, really frustrating. And so I just decided, well, there must be something out there that I could pull together, and I did. And I'd actually recommend your users, if they want to learn code, they can try and do this themselves. And I had to take matters in my own hands, and I threw it together, and it worked. I was amazed that I actually get a call back from EDD, the place that I'd been trying to call hundreds of times. So
right.
Yeah.
You're pretty upfront that your service is not a miracle worker. You've since kind of changed your branding, but it used to be like if you went to claimyr.com, it would say, have you first tried calling? And then you would give the number. So even on your own service, you were like, hey guys, have you tried to call yourself for free? And then you listed the number. So you've never really been like, this is a miracle service. My feeling on it is like, you've always kind of said, hey, if you're just frustrated with the EDD, this will at least get you through to the point of holding. Would you say that that's accurate?
First off, we didn't want to come across as like this was, we're here to take advantage, and, we're here and then we're gone with, whatever we have. We're here to stay. And if we alienate people from that standpoint, or we trick people, that's bad karma. But then also probably it's just really bad, to do it anyways. But second of all, we thought that, it would probably be a win-win for everybody if they at least tried. And then maybe they wouldn't have to spend the $20, but most likely they would see that this is a problem and this is a product. There is a value proposition there. So we actually don't have that now, but we should probably put that back up.
I definitely think that you're an innovator. You saw a need and you provided a service. It is tricky because unfortunately the need is for those of us on unemployment, which probably also means that we're struggling a little bit financially. So I get why some people are frustrated. Now, the question that I have for you, and break this down for me as simply as you can. I think one of people's big frustrations with it is they are like, this service is clogging up the EDD phone lines. This is why we can't get through to the EDD. It's because Claimyr. And I've heard that that's not true, but I'd love to hear you explain it in your own words as simply as you can, because I am not a tech person.
There was a reason why Claimyr existed in the first place, is because it was impossible to reach EDD even before I even knew that this was a problem. And if you actually do a Google search, EDD busy phone line from 2006, even before this whole thing, you still get results from that. The state auditor did an analysis in January. They only answered 6% before the pandemic began, before the mass layoffs happened. They only answered 6% of the calls. So this is a chronic problem. It has always existed. 2013, they actually had a report too. So it's the same thing. Now, are we making the problem worse? Well, we look at our numbers and how many calls we place on average per person. We place 20 calls per person. Now, we're not just placing those calls ahead of time and then reselling them. People come onto the site and then they ask to have us place those calls for them. So if you think about it, those people would be placing calls anyway. And what I've seen, at least on our community groups, is they're saying, I called hundreds of times. And that's true. They're actually panicking and placing hundreds of calls just to get through that one time. Now, if we're only placing 20 to 50 calls per person, then we've actually somewhat even put them back into it. Now, how did we actually do that? How did we actually reduce probably down to how many calls per person that they would normally not make? Well, it's because everybody's calling at once, all at the same time, trying to get into this like pinhole of an opportunity just to get on hold. If people were able to wait in line just for a little bit longer, 1 to 2 hours, then they can reduce the amount of call volume that's what happens. So we actually put people into a wait queue. So that's how we reduce the call volume. In fact, if enough people are willing to wait, we can actually reduce the amount of congestion, right? Second of all, there's zero incentive for us to congest it because we would be calling against ourselves, and then it would just become this exponential problem, and then our business would collapse. So there's no incentive for us to actually do that.
All right, that's a good point. Can you explain? So there are things called robo dialers though, and but that's not what you use. You use an auto dialer. Is that correct?
They're all the same. They're all the same.
Oh,
but there's different ways you can architect one, right?
okay.
You could give everybody access to 1,000 calls per minute, however many you can actually place. Everybody that use the service can have access to an auto dialer. Now, off the shelf, you can build that. Now, what we had to do to control our costs and control the congestion is we built a wait queue. And we just put people, 1 to 2 hours, but they definitely get the call back. That's all that they want.
Yes.
And and so essentially we have one dialer, and then we just, as those get connected, we just, connect those people who are first in line to that. Okay. So that's just a smarter way for us to control costs.
Other concern, I know that you've heard this a lot. Everyone's concerned that Claimyr is listening to their calls. So your service, it dials the EDD. We put our numbers into the website. It's not a phone number. People ask that a lot. They say, what is the number that I can call? It's not a phone number. It is a website, and you put your phone number in there. You put your credit card information in there. And then that's when we get in your queue for when the dialer gets in contact, it calls us.
Right.
Does it disconnect from our call?
Yeah, so I think there's the kind of the concept out there that somehow we've created a conference call, and that's simply not the case. We definitely do not listen into the conversations. Secondly, we're not even on the call. So, and third, we don't even want to have that responsibility to manage that data, that personal data, and then secure that. That's not our business model, is identity theft. So you can easily verify this by actually placing a call through Google Voice. I think you can, and then you can see if there's anybody else on the line. And a lot of our customers have done this, and they say, yeah, definitely, you guys are not on the line. So we're not creating a conference call. We're simply, once we get connected, we just dial out to the first phone number that's in our wait queue, and then that's our own two-party call, and then that goes on to the next, and we do another two-party call. On and on it goes. Yeah.
All right, that is good to know. And then you actually mentioned, I don't know if you're still willing to do this. When I first reached out to you, you're like, Shelly, I'll even tell you the best times to call the EDD, the times when your dialer gets through the fastest. Mm-hmm. Are you still willing to share that data with my viewers?
Sure. Actually, we encourage people to start calling maybe Wednesday, Thursday. Those are probably the best days to get through. And if you call in the mornings, you'll probably be able to get through faster, because you definitely have the odds of getting an agent, a tier 2, or I think there's this mysterious tier 3 out there. Mm-hmm. The odds of actually talking to somebody who can help with your claim, nonetheless, is probably, your odds are much, much higher. Now, everybody calls on Monday. It's a huge spike on Monday. I'd recommend to load balance, to call maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if you're able. I would say the worst days probably in terms of agent availability is Saturdays and Sundays. Really just enjoy your weekend if you can, because they're probably not going to answer your call. And even if they do answer it, they're probably going to drop it. So I'd say the sweet spot is probably Wednesday,
Okay.
but Thursday works too.
I'd kind of been recommending to my viewers between Tuesday and Saturday, but according to your system, Saturday is not a good day.
Well, Saturday is actually not bad. Sunday is definitely the worst in terms of drop calls.
It's certification day, and that's when everybody's having problems with their claims.
Surprise, right? Yeah, but Monday is pretty bad. Tuesday, yeah, you're right. By Tuesday, it kind of starts to level off there. Yeah.
Okay. And what is the future of your business? I've actually had a lot of viewers say, will this work for the IRS? So the IRS is somewhere that people would like to be able to use this service. Where does this go? I know you said that EDD has had this problem, but obviously after the pandemic, the need will taper off, so hopefully substantially. What other businesses are you thinking about, or can you share that with us?
Well, yeah, no problem. We're actually not thinking about going into like another busy phone line system. We want to stay what we call vertical, like
Okay.
to help unemployed, because first off, we think there's a huge need for it. It's not in California. We've seen this in Texas. We've seen it in every state. They seem calling problems even before the pandemic began. So, but we do think that if we build more products in there, like there's a ton of Facebook groups, right? But they're all on Facebook and they have their limitations. We're thinking about building our own communities on our own domain as well, and building mobile apps, et cetera, around that. I think first off, I don't necessarily am so drawn up on trying to get money. I think what we need to do is build things that people really value, and then somehow find ways to make money off of that. But I don't think that's really the objective right now. We want to build communities and maybe some products and maybe even jobs to help with people in unemployment. So, and the call app is like phase one. We really think in 10 years, it's going to be very, very different.
Has anyone from the EDD reached out to you and like thanked you or asked you to stop, or any feedback, anything from anybody from the EDD at all?
No, I mean, no word back. I mean, I've seen they've kind of echo call and response over like some press. They've been talking on some of the press, but they haven't really disavowed us. They haven't, thought that we should stop. They haven't asked us to stop. But I mean, they probably, if you see the reviews, they probably in some way are thinking, okay, well, it's maybe not as evil as we thought.
Maybe they're thankful, because if I'm somebody and I've been on, first of all, your service won't cut through the hold time, but you're upfront about that. It just gets you to the point where you can hold. But yeah. I overheated my phone trying to call the EDD. My phone was hot. I had to take off the case. And by the time I got through to the agent, I was not in the best mood. At least when you get to the point of holding, you can put your phone on charger, put it on mute, go about your day. Like, I think the hard part is the dialing. So maybe they're thankful for your service because it's making people be in better moods by the time they get through. I'm not sure.
Yes, we've actually heard customers say that I'm way more polite, like, because I'm not freaking out about all those extra things. Second of all, think about it this way, like, to actually solve the backlog of the claim, right? People have to call, each person has to call around 4 times, right? Through the lifetime of their claim. But it's like winning the lottery if they call on their own. So then that whole backlog actually gets extended. But if you can solve a backlog, boom, you can solve. So we solve probably tens of thousands of backlog claims, which helps the other people who are backlogged, right? So I think it's kind of, there might be some win-win here.
Yeah, I mean, the people that like your service that have used it, I mean, seem to far outweigh the people that are like, I'm not too sure. And I mean, so it kind of speaks for themselves. The comments on my videos, on Jenny's videos, Claimyr's the best $20 I've ever spent, which, by the way, guys, I'm going to plug my referral code right now. I've got my referral code linked in the description down below.
Do it.
And that'll save you $5 off your first call. That's important to note. It's only your first call. Like, people think that they can use my code one day and then the next time they can go on and use Jenny Silver's code, but it doesn't work like that. It's going to hold on to the phone number. It's going to know that you've already called, and it is going to charge you $20 or $19.99, excuse me, for the second call. But everybody in the comments says that they love it and it's the best $20 they've spent. But I did promise my viewers I would ask this. Is there ever any plan? Because I don't quite know your business model, right? But like my guess was like that you'd get people to love it so much that the next time they have a problem, they want to pay full price. And then that's, you know, kind of how it works. But any plans to maybe offer a discount if somebody does need to call again? Like maybe the referral bonus is very generous, and I want to thank you for that. And I want to admit that I get that and I have benefited from that. I have tried to donate some calls back to my viewers, but it is very generous. But any thoughts of like lowering the referral bonus so that somebody could still use someone else's code, but maybe I'd get less, but they wouldn't have to pay the discount code, anything like that coming in the future?
Yeah, well, I'd like to kind of frame it in a different way. Like, so the callback, right? So EDD will most likely drop a call, right? And so, I mean, do they have to call again? Do they have to pay another $20 to do that? No. So we figured it would be fair that if you do that, we'll basically try and guarantee you actually talking to somebody that day.
Yes.
And another thing to think about, it's not just you paid $20 just to place a call. What is on the other end of that call? Maybe tens of thousands of dollars or $7,000. So
yes.
There's a reason why they keep saying it's the best $20 I've ever spent, which kind of took a like, wow, that's kind of amazing. But it's because there's a return on the other side. Now, yes, I understand, like, it's for unemployment, but there's other ways to kind of think about that, the value proposition of time and energy. You can dial by yourself. With or without us, it would still be a nightmare. So
right.
Do we have plans to reduce the price? No, we don't. We don't have plans to offer additional discounts because,
viewers would love it if you ever do decide to do that. And if you do, I'd be happy to, if you ever want to consider that, I'd be happy to still sing the praises of your service for a reduced referral code.
Sure. Well, and here's another thing too, is that they can actually, through the referral program, if they refer two more people to use the service, they've actually made money than they actually spent. So I do think, like, the referral program is also meant for a grassroots kind of like, all right, we know we're charging unemployed people for it, but here's an ability for you to actually get some of that money back, have them save some money, and also we grow too. So I really thought that would be probably the win-win for everybody if they join the referral program and they actually do it. So yeah, that's my thoughts there. Yeah.
And I just want to say I've had no problems getting paid out. It's been regular. It's through PayPal. So that has worked. And yeah, a lot of people get your own code. Probably if you're unemployed, chances that someone else who is unemployed and having trouble getting through to the EDD are probably pretty high. So people don't have to use my code. They can use my code their first time and then give your code to your friends that are struggling. I want to see people not struggle. And I know some people can't afford it, and that's sad and frustrating for me. But to the people who do have it in their budget, the overwhelming feedback is that it's worth it, and they're very happy that they've spent the money. Do you have anything else that you want people to know about the service, or that I didn't ask you?
The users think that we're dropping the call, or EDDs intentionally dropping the call on Claimyr calls, and just that's not the case.
You do offer a free callback if your call is dropped. It's supposed to just be one free callback, correct?
Well, actually, we offer 3 callbacks, right? Okay. And then actually, if you reach out to customer support, we do offer more callbacks. But problem was that we actually had unlimited callbacks. Unlimited, right? You kept on typing yes, and people were catching on to that.
I did see a lot of people just reply yes to the text, and you could have unlimited callbacks. And so you guys did finally find a way to limit the unlimited callbacks.
Well, what was happening is that a lot of folks were saying, well, in 2 weeks, I probably have to call them again. So why don't I just, get a call every day for the next 2 weeks, and I don't have to pay $20 again. That's smart. Okay. Like, we knew people would do that, and that was okay. But what was happening is I was adding a lot more congestion to the phone lines that was necessary. And then people had to wait longer and longer and longer. Right. Second of all, people were actually reselling those calls. So it was really kind of beginning to kind of percolate bit by bit. So, the 3 callbacks and plus then we will take the customer service and then like go through them, place more calls for them on a case-by-case basis, was a way to kind of control the congestion and the kind of tragedy of the commons.
What would happen if I place the call at 7:30 p.m.? The EDD office is going to close in 30 minutes. My chances, it's going to take your service a little while to dial. It's going to take even longer for me to hold to get to talk to a rep. So that's not exactly a dropped call, but that's just maybe not the best time to call even using your service. So what happens in that case if I sign up at 7:30 p.m. to use Claimyr?
Sure. Actually, we automatically route the calls to the next day. So if you haven't reached somebody by 7:30, then you're going to get a call at probably 8:30, 8 a.m. tomorrow, or 10 the next day, right? So I think that is just, we make sure just the person gets called, right? Get their call back. But yeah, I mean, if the call drops again, then you just do type yes and you get another call back. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, I don't know if you love that I say this, but I recommend to my viewers that if they want to use your service, that they actually start that call by 4:30 p.m., that they go to claimyr.com with the referral code. So it costs $14.99, not $19.99,
Right.
and start the call by 4:30. Because if you do that by 4:30, that allows you an hour and a half to call the EDD and get me connected. Now I'm not saying it takes an hour and a half with your service. I'm saying that like, if for some reason you're experiencing a long wait list, you got an hour and a half, you'd still get in the queue to wait to speak to somebody by 6 p.m.
Right.
That'd give you 2 hours to hold and actually get to a rep. So
Right.
if you initiate the call with Claimyr by 4:30 p.m., I would say that there's at least like an 80% chance of actually speaking to a rep the day. And any later than that, I would discourage my viewers from doing that and like just waiting till the next day. Is that good advice or
well,
logic?
Well, it's really good. I mean, strategies around the timing, I think first off, like the fact that you've noticed that is probably your viewers like, yeah, definitely listen to Shelly. She definitely knows what she's talking about. I think around, regardless, no matter what, I think, you can try and time it, and you can definitely add a lot of extra ideas around that. But really, like, we want people to more relax and kind of like, we will definitely get them connected. And I know something might be quite urgent. So if it is really urgent, I would definitely say your odds of talking to an agent who can help your problem drastically increases if because basically the agent's queue, their hold queue, like closes up like as you get closer and closer to 6. Basically, if by 6, if you're not talking to an agent, it's going to be pushed to the next day. So it does give you a couple hours, but really, since you're using Claimyr, the luxury is that you definitely will. And the earlier that you talk to somebody, or at least that you're in the queue, the odds of you talking to somebody who can help with your claim kind of goes up. But there is an optimal time, and I think maybe Shelly has found that out around 4 p.m. So, but if it's at 6, you might as well call the next day.
Also, I did, as a test, you offered this to me when I was reached out to you to join the referral program. You were like, Shelly, do a call with us. And it was a Sunday, and I put in my phone number, and I got a call back probably in 2 minutes. I gotta say, I was not prepared for the speed with which I got that call back. And I was like, I wasn't ready. I didn't know. So if someone's going to use your service, I do notice that you guys have a claim on your website that says, hey, allow about an hour or 2 for us to dial back. But guys, also be prepared for that call to happen in as little as like 2 minutes. It was literally almost instant on a Sunday when you even said, like, and I tell my viewers the call volume's high on a Sunday. I got the call back in 2 minutes. And yeah, I think I emailed you. I was like, Thomas, like, you might want to have like a pop-up that says, and I still think this would be a good idea. I don't know about programming technology and all this. I still think a pop-up that says like, are you ready to initiate the call now, might be a good idea, because like, I had no idea it could even happen. Like the EDD is terrible. I had no idea it could happen that fast. So I was really surprised by that pleasantly. But yeah, because if you're going to use the service, anywhere from 2 minutes to 2 hours to get the call back to be connected to then hold for anywhere between 2 minutes and 4 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it
definitely.
happens fast. Sometimes it happens really fast.
Yeah, it does. And especially like on the callbacks, when they type yes, typically that callback can happen much faster because their order is actually still considered part of their earlier in the queue. And we prioritize the people when they're earlier in the queue because we want to get them through and get their claims thing. So you're talking about the 2-minute thing that can actually happen pretty consistently if we're doing a lot of drop calls. Yeah, they actually get faster and faster.
Recently, over the last couple of months, have you seen any decrease in the need for your service, or has it stayed consistent? Has it increased? What's going on with the calls and the need for your service?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of hard to believe, but we really we can look at the EDD call volume and the unique callers. We're really only less than 1% of like the actual users who are actually calling.
Yeah.
So we've actually been growing into more and more, despite that their claims are decreasing, et cetera. And in January in 2020, there was that 1 week in that whole of January, 1 week would have 120,000 unique callers. And we're way, way, way beneath that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people on social media have found out about Claimyr, but there's a lot of people who clearly have not even thought to go onto YouTube to ask their questions. And so there's still actually some growth that can be done. And we're surprised that despite things are kind of falling, we're still kind of growing.
All right. Well, Thomas, I know that you're really busy, and I just wanted to thank you. I really appreciate the time that you took to explain it to me. And you've been very responsive to emails to me whenever I've had a question. I just appreciate that. I've never felt like you were avoiding me or like didn't want to take the time. And I appreciate that. And so have a good night.
Yeah, no problem. Well, thanks, Shelley. I really appreciate you actually coming back and reminding me. It's just been really crazy, but I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity again.